Welcome in, everybody. My name is Kitty Tetra, and today we're going to be doing the foraging tutorial. So what the foraging tutorial means is that I'm going to show you all the wild plants that you can eat while you're just traveling around the biomes. I probably should have showed this a long time ago for especially for beginner Eves. When they're starting out their camps, a lot of people I see rely on the gooseberries and carrots, but I've noticed that a lot of new players don't realize that you can also eat the cactus fruit and wild onions and certain things like that. So I figured, this might be a shorter one, but I'm going to show you those plus two more I'll call advanced foraging, which is mushrooms and blueberries, and how you can get those. You have to have your Eve camp a little more set up for those, but I might as well show you. But the first ones we're going to do is the ones that you can find in the grass biomes. So one of the easiest ones that you can find in the grass biomes will be the wild gooseberry plants. So unlike the domestic ones, if you were to eat all the berries and pick them off, it will regrow without watering it. So that's a very easy foraging food that you can use, especially when you're starting out. The next one that I'm going to be talking about is the raspberry bush. Let me bring up the book. So the raspberry bush, like a few other foods, it has about 3 stages it has to go through. So this is the used raspberry bush. I believe the other one's called flowering or blooming. And then the last stage is when you can get the fruit. I'm going to show you them all. So when you see it like this and you're an Eve and you're traveling, just know that you got to wait 2 more another cycle before you can actually get the fruit. Alright, so we waited a bit and now the raspberry bush is now blooming. It's still called used raspberry bush, so it doesn't have a different title when it's blooming like this, but I'll call this the blooming stage or the flowering stage. Once it's done this stage, it will have the raspberries. So if you're running around as an Eve and you happen to see it in the flowering, I don't know how long it takes for it to have the raspberries, but just know you're quite close. So you can either make your camp close to one if there's water and iron mines or iron around you, or just you could just hope and wait that it will bloom into fruit if you're close by and you can go back and pick it, or you can put it in your farm, because I showed you in the farming tutorial how you can replant these guys. So the raspberry bush is now fruiting, and there is only going to be 6 fruit on a wild raspberry bush. I'll show you right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Versus if you were to dig this out and replant it, you get 8 berries. And 8 berries counts as a full bowl, which you can use to make raspberry pie, or you could put it in a crock. So wild ones, they give you 2 less, so you're going to have to wait for 2 cycles to fill up a bowl, or you're just going to have to go find another wild raspberry bush. But yeah, so you only get 6 when it's wild, but it's still pretty good. Especially if your family's hungry, I recommend you put them on the ground. Just like the gooseberries, I recommend if you're an Eve to put wild gooseberry fruit on the ground as well. So your family does not starve. Because the thing about wild gooseberries and raspberries is you don't need to water them for them to grow back the fruit. They just will do it automatically. So even here, just go ahead and put them on the floor like this. It might take some time, but it's definitely worth it, especially if you're starting to have quite a bit of babies and you're limited on the food in the foraging. Just put the fruit on the floor like this, especially if you don't have a bowl. And then this will now grow back more wild gooseberries in the future. The next one that I'm going to show you is also in the grass biome. It is the wild onion. So unfortunately, wild onions you cannot plant in the farm and make more onions. You can do that in the PC one, but this one you cannot. They're more just foraging foods that you can pick and eat just like this. So unfortunately you cannot replant wild onions, but you can still eat them, and as you can see they filled up my black bars pretty well, so they're really nice to have. The next foraging item that you can find, or I should say foraging food you can find, is the burdock, which is right here. You're actually going to need a sharp stone to get this one. That's pretty easy even for the eaves to make. You just get a round stone, hit it against the rock, and it becomes a sharp stone. But just drag it over like that, and then you can pick it up and you can eat it. They give pretty good, they fill up your square bar pretty good, better than the gooseberries and stuff. So they're really good to bring to your farm. Just bring a sharp stone in a basket and just go around and find them. Unlike the PC version, you don't have to use burdock for rabbit bait, so they're more just better. They're better for yum than anything else and just to feed your family. So now that I showed you all of the foraging foods you can get in the grass biome, we are now in the savanna. The savanna has foraging items like right here with the indigo and stuff, but you can't eat those. I'm going to put those into tutorials like the dye and stuff to show you what you can do with those. So we're just going to focus on the food. There is wheat here, but again, wheat is one of those ones that you plant. You can't really eat it. Like I'm mostly showing things that you can eat right off the bat, besides the mushroom and the blueberries. But here is the carrot. I always recommend wild carrots to take the seed off, especially when you're Eve. Put it on the ground so you could come back and plant it later. Then take your sharp stone right here. You're going to whack it, and you can now pick up a wild carrots. These do pretty good for your food too, and you can find quite a bit of them in the savanna, aka the rabbit biome. So your family won't go hungry as long as you got these around. The next one I'm going to show you is the only food in the jungle, and that is the bananas. Bananas actually will fill up your square food bars a lot. Like I don't know how many it does. I'll have to keep track of that next time I'm really hungry. But they're a really, really good food source, especially when you're in Eve and you're next to a jungle, to bring to your family. That way they could keep getting food, especially if you're not around enough gooseberries that regrow quick enough, or raspberries or anything like that. Bananas will definitely save your family's life. Now, the only downside of a banana tree is once all the bananas are gone, the tree will not produce more bananas. You will have to cut down the tree and replant it. So that's the only downside with them, but I still recommend you plucking them and giving them to your family, because it will definitely keep them alive, and hopefully at enough time, it'll keep them alive enough time for them to make the oven so they can start making pies and so on and so forth like that. So the cactus fruit. Now this is the only food that you can find in the savanna, and much like the raspberries, it goes through about 3 stages. You're going to have the first stage that just looks like a regular cactus with like nothing on it. I think it just says used or empty cactus. The second stage is right here where it's called flowering cactus. And then the third stage right here is the fruiting cactus. So when the cactus is fruiting, you can actually pick the fruit right here and you can eat it. My character's obviously full, so I cannot, but you can see up in the top left corner, there's a smiley face with the tongue sticking out. That shows it's also something I haven't eat. You can also put these in the crock, and you can also put them on your shoe. I like to make fun of that it's a snack that you can bring around with you. I don't really know why we put it on a shoe, but I just figured it's some kind of fancy snack, so. But yeah, that's the oh yeah, so this would be, yeah, so it's called used cactus. So this is what the cactus would look like when it's not flowering, and then flowering, and then the yellow little tip thing on the top, that's when it has the fruit. And that is the only food in the desert that you can find and eat. So especially when you're running around and you're hungry and you happen to find yourself in a desert, definitely look for the fruit. Now the next one I am going to show you is going to be the mushrooms. Mushrooms are going to take a little time, but at least I can show you the steps and how to start making mushrooms appear, and then go from there. So you're going to want to have a a basket or an empty rabbit bag, and we're gonna head over to some soil. So here is some soil right here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is empty the soil. So remove all of the soil that you possibly can, and then we'll get on to the next part. So you could just put it on the ground like this, or you can bring it back to your farm. I'm just going to put it on the ground like this, just because I'm showing you guys what to do. And I may have mentioned this before, but I don't know. But another really interesting thing about soil is, say this is empty, you can hit it with a shovel to make it have more soil if it hasn't been hit once. You can only do that one time, then the next time I think it becomes clay? Becomes something like that. I believe it's clay. But say you want your soil mound to refill itself, just leave a piece of soil in here, and much like the water, over time it will refill itself. It's real slow, but even like you do that with a clay pit, it also refills. I don't know how long it takes for soil. I know it takes a long time, but you can do that. But we're emptying it, so we'll remove that. So once it kind of looks hairy like that, that means the soil has been emptied. Whoop, well, I didn't mean to do that. Because I already accidentally did it. Once you remove all the soil, little worms are going to start appearing in the soil. I believe there is only 3 of them. So what you're going to do is you want to pluck all the worms out like this. So 1, 2, 3, and let's just make sure. Oh yeah, so I should have the book out. So now it's called wormless soil. Before it's called worm soil or something like that. But now what you have to do is you have to wait 1 whole hour, and then your wormless soil pit will start having mushrooms. Now I'm just going to go over to another pit I have and show you the mushrooms that are growing. But yeah, so that is how you do mushrooms. Alright, so here's one of my pits with my mushrooms. So as you can see, I've been picking them and putting them here. But yeah. All you have to do is once you get a mushroom, you can pick it and you can eat it just like that. And if you wait, I think it's now every hour your pit will grow a mushroom. And as that happens, you can just pluck them and you can put them right here on the side. Unfortunately, you cannot put mushrooms in a crock, but they are still a really good yum. And I'm going to count it as a foraging because technically it is kind of like a foraging thing. I mean, you can't plant the mushrooms, so I'm going to put it here. So lastly is now the blueberries. So the blueberries, you're going to need a bowl, and you're going to go to the wasteland, aka the bear biome. So this right here is a blueberry bush. Now, much like other food items, it does go through stages. I don't know how long it takes for it to have blueberries, but I know that we got lucky because right now it's showing what it would look like when the blueberries are ready. So this here are the blueberries, and the only way that you can get them is with a bowl. So you do this, and boom, you got a bowl. But the bowl is not full. I believe it takes 2. Yeah, so now you have a full bowl of blueberries. And the only way to fill up a crock of blueberries is with a full bowl. If you were to do it with just 1 bowl, as you saw me do, that's just a half a bowl, and it doesn't count. You can't use a half a bowl to make a crock. To put it in a crock, I meant. But yeah, we just got lucky, like very, very lucky, because normally the blueberries are not ready. But however, when you have a half a bowl, I believe this is how you make certain foods. Like, see how it's showing blueberries with cream? I believe that's how you make it. Let me just make sure. Yep. So if you have a half a bowl, like you see here, you can make things like blueberry and cream. You can't do that with a full bowl. But that is blueberries. And oh look, so we ran out of time. So now the blueberries all look like this. This is a used blueberry bush. You won't be able to get blueberries off of it. And then it actually goes through another stage. Let's see if it will show you it. Yeah, so right here, this is the other stage. If you see it up there in the top right corner, it's like these light blue little buds. That's the bush when it's at like the flowering stage. So you can't get blueberries in that. So you have to wait till it gets a dark blue like this right here, like you saw earlier. But that right there, everyone, is all of the foraging foods. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. Because I can tell you, I didn't before we leave, you cannot plant blueberries, much like mushrooms and onions and burdock. You can't plant them. Again, they're just foods that you can only get in the wasteland. You can destroy blueberries with a certain dog, which I will show you in the command dog tutorial. But I don't recommend destroying them unless you're trying to make some kind of base in the wasteland area. Like say you are setting up some kind of mining base. Because once you destroy them, they won't come back, and then you have to travel farther to get them. But I did want to bring that up. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. And if you have any advice for the next tutorial, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to show you it. But for now, have a great night.